Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of WEvolve.
Today we're talking about why overthinking happens, and we're going to get into the nitty gritty of all the stuff that happens in your brain, and then also some personal stories.
So if you want to share some thoughts of what you're going to learn in this episode, and I know you wrote our script, but what are a little hook for our listeners, if you have any?
Yeah, we're going to talk about literally why you overthink about the smallest things, the biggest things, what kind of things you actually overthink about. And it's not just like a user error. There are things happening in your brain that actually make you continuously overthink. And we're just going to get into what is actually happening in your brain, why you overthink, even when sometimes you don't want to overthink. You just naturally do it.
Do you feel like you're an overthinker?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I feel like
I don't think I'm that big of an overthinker,
I'm bad.
but I do think I'm an overthinker. I think I've gotten better at it though.
I think mine used to be so bad before, but now I'm like, okay, like
I just filled it on the floor.
I used to be really bad before, but I think I've gotten better at it over the years. Maybe not as good as you, but
you got better.
Better. I feel like you
better.
You can tell.
Yeah.
You can tell, girl.
I guess let's just start off with what does overthinking mean to you? Like describe like what overthinking means, but in non-medical scientific terms. Like what does it mean to you?
It's like you have a thought, you might have done something to someone, you might have thought about something like academically related, career related, relationship related, and you're just going in circles. And you're like, oh my God, what did this person think of me? Why did they act like that? Why did they say it in that tone? Oh my God, they hate me. Oh my God, why did they reply to me? It's just over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
Not a good feeling.
Yeah, it's not a good feeling. And usually the stuff you're overthinking about, nobody's thinking about.
Wait, I saw this TikTok one day, and it was like, don't overthink. You need to underthink. And it's like, overthinking is a skill, and you're built so exceptionally, and no one's thinking like that. You need to underthink. Like, you need to think lower.
I agree.
Because then that's what you're thinking normally. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense, actually.
Okay.
I'm gonna start doing that.
What about you? What do you think?
I think that was a pretty good description. I think it's literally just when you have a thought that you think of in like a negative light. Like it's something that's making you feel guilty, something that's making you feel bad, making you feel sad, angry. It's like usually a negative emotion.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just dwell on it. You just dwell on the emotion. You think about every possible outcome, every scenario, everything. The thing is like what
you
actually
think the worst.
And what actually happened is not even any of the scenarios.
Oh, yeah.
Any of the above.
You literally think the worst of the worst. Like, oh my God, I'm going to like, this person hates me, they're never gonna want to be friends with me again.
Literally, I think I've like overthink so much that, like in the past, that sometimes I'll think someone's mad and they're like happy when they're texting me.
Just like, what do you mean?
They're like, what do you mean? And then I go back and I read through the text the next day and I'm like,
yeah, I was just tweaking out for no reason. Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into some of our experiences. I'm sure everyone experienced overthinking in some way, shape, or form. But what is a time that you overthought something that's relatively small and then spiraled?
Well, I can tell you about a time that me and my friends were hanging out and we were just, it was like some sort of holiday and we were just talking and something came out about someone and I was just like laughing and I was like, oh my God, you're crazy for doing that, you're crazy for doing that. Like, and then she was just like, no, like stop. But then I couldn't tell if she was like seriously telling me to stop. And then I started freaking out because then she left and I was like asking her friends, I was like, oh my God, like, do you feel like I did like too much? Do you feel like did I like hurt her? Like, do you think she was upset? And then they were like, nah, trust, like, this is fine. And I was like, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. I think sometimes I overthink about like super small purchases.
Oh, okay, cool.
But I feel like that's like something that every college student goes through. But I think, like sometimes I just think about super small things, and it's just like a waste of even thinking that because I'm gonna get it anyway. So
it's like why even overthink? Like before we recorded, she just convinced me to like get a purchase, and it's like I was like, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, it's like
it's not good. But it's like.
But do you ever think that when you overthink? Overthink?
I don't know if it's overthink.
You overthinked? You're...
Okay.
Anyways.
I don't know.
Have you ever... Whoa. Have you ever had an experience where you were overthinking and it actually actually help you decide or do something to the situation?
I think like it could be both, like relationship wise and academically. Like relationship wise, like because I'm able to overthink, I know when I'm like maybe could be like nearing towards someone's boundaries, or like just like telling myself, okay, like I shouldn't bring this up.
Like academically?
Not academically, relationship
Oh,
wise,
okay.
but academically, I like to overthink when I do interviews. Like I like to be like, okay, what is this person potentially gonna ask me? And like, what if they ask me like this? What if they do this and then that?
Yeah.
And like,
But do you consider that overthinking, or is that just called
Just planning.
preparedness?
I don't know. But I also can overthink when it comes to academics. If I don't get something, what's gonna happen? Where am I gonna go?
Yeah. And I think overthinking has a negative connotation. Like it's not
Yeah.
something that's.
I don't think it's
Positive.
something like, I think I just described what planning is.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I've ever overthink something. Oh yeah, overthink. Overthink something in, it's helped me other than tell myself that I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then I feel like us saying we're doing too much, and we're still overthinking because
yeah,
then we're like,
for sure.
now we did too much, and now we're
Yeah,
like,
which we'll get into more about like how we cope with overthinking, but yeah, like I don't know. It's not
Yeah.
me. What about you?
Sorry, just not to cut you off, but our episodes are designed to state the problem, give you some science background, and then give you a relative solution to the problem. So
Essentially.
I would say if you're watching this to know the solution, just please watch till the end, because that's where we're gonna say it.
Yeah, we're just not about to rant about everything.
Yeah, don't worry, we're not just
Not
gonna-
deep diving.
Yeah. But what do I think? I low-key think that overthinking has never helped me. Like I think it just causes
Yeah.
unnecessary stress, and you
Yeah.
end up doing what you were gonna do anyway.
Yeah.
Like you never overthink, change your mind because you overthought
The
something.
only thing
Overthought.
Overthought,
Overthought.
not overthink. Oh god, it's over. Yeah, overthought something. I will say this, when I overthink something, okay, I used to call the grammar tenses. Sometimes,
They're gonna clip us.
Yeah, they are.
DJ's gonna clip us.
sometimes I will be like, sometimes I'll be like kind of scared to take the risk because I'm overthinking about something and I'm like thinking too much.
But then you take it anyway.
Yeah, and then I'm like, okay, you know what, YOLO, you only live
Yeah.
once, and then I like send, like, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's true. Like I feel like maybe it's not true for everybody, but for me,
Yeah.
I overthink and then I do what I was gonna do even if I didn't overthink
Yeah.
anyway. So I just feel like it's just causing stress.
No, yeah, literally.
What is a relationship, text message, or conversation that you have replayed over and over in your head?
There was an instance where I saw one of my friends and I like went up to her and I was like, oh my god, I'll just say this. Find My iPhone is not a good app. I don't like that app. It makes me sad. Sometimes I'll overthink when I see two people's locations in one area. I'm like, oh my god, they didn't invite me. They hate me. But it's like, dude, I'm delusional. It could literally just be like, oh, this girl was studying here. They saw the location. They came and they said hi. Like, oh, hey, hey. Like, that's what me and my friends do a lot on campus. Like, it doesn't matter if we're doing, like, if we're like there, my friends will just be like, oh, I see you're here. Like, can I come bother you? Or like, can I like join you? And
Yeah.
like, it's like normal. But it's like, when I'm doing that, I feel like I'm doing too much. Yeah. That's,
When you're
like, if
when
like
you're
my friends do
overthinking?
to me and I don't care and I love it actually. Like, I think it's so sweet. Like, oh, like, you're watching out for me. Like, you're coming and like you're wanting to hang out with me. I like that. But when I do it, I feel like I'm doing too much.
Oh, okay.
I feel like, oh my god, like, why am I like, they're gonna be like, oh my god, she's so weird, like, why is she like looking at my location and asking, like, oh, I didn't want to see her, like, that's the scenarios that play in my mind, so I'd rather just not go or
Yeah.
say anything. And it's sad because it's like, it's normal, it's fine, but it's like, I tend to overthink a lot in friendships because I don't want to overstep someone's boundaries, or like, if I really like a person and that person doesn't really like me, like, I don't like to do too much too. 'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah, what about you?
I think I do overthink text messages and everything. Every time I overthink, I'm wrong. Like, I don't think I've overthought something, and I was like, and it ended up being I'm right.
Yeah.
So I think there are so many conversations I play over in my head, but I think I've gotten better at it. I've
Yeah.
just been YOLO. If they're mad at me, they're mad at me. My thing is, if you're mad, you're gonna say you're mad anyways.
Yeah.
There's just no point of
There's no
me
point in dwelling on
overthinking
it.
about it.
And also, like, if you watch our last episode, we always say, like, if it's meant for you, it's meant for you. So, like,
Our
if this-
whole episode.
that's all we said. But you know what? Like, if that friendship's not meant for you, friendship's not meant
Yeah,
for
and
you.
also, my thing is just like, if you're mad at me, or if you
Yeah.
ask me to say it, then say it.
Yeah.
Like if you're not, then it's just a waste of my time to overthink.
Yeah.
So I think that I've gotten better at not overthinking.
So can I ask you a question? Has anyone ever called you out for overthinking?
Yeah, I think you call me out for overthinking.
Oh, I have.
I think we call each other out.
I think we're able to call each other out because it's like, for me, in order to be called out, I need to go to the person and be like, bro, this is what's happening in my brain. This is what I'm dealing with. Which I highly like recommend this for anyone if they're like open to talking about their overthinking. Like if you have a friend that can just go to that person, tell them what you're overthinking about, ask them, hey, am I being stupid for overthinking this? Likely they're gonna say yes.
Low-key though, I don't think you're a chronic overthinker. Sometimes you say that you overthink and then I'm just like, I don't think you're overthinking.
You think I'm valid for thinking?
Yeah, like sometimes when you'll come to me and I'll be like, well, that is what is happening. So
you're like, you're not overthinking.
I think you're just thinking.
Just using my brain.
Sometimes she does overthink.
Sometimes I do overthink and I'll like start freaking out and then like my friends will just be like, you're being stupid. Like relax.
Yeah.
And I'll be fine.
I think I have like a 10% overthinking thing, but every time I overthink, you're like, you're overthinking.
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever been like, you're not overthinking.
You're underthinking, bro. Like, look it.
You're just thinking.
No, like, and I feel like that's like the biggest like thing, because like I get humbled because I'm acting so stupid. So then I'm like, okay, like really what I'm thinking is like I'm doing too much. Yeah. And also a hug solves it. Yeah. I feel like a really, really tight hug like will make your like worries go away too.
Yeah. I do like it though when people say I'm overthinking,
because it makes me feel yeah.
Because also I'm like telling people that I don't mind them hearing that I'm overthinking. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm not telling a stranger on the street.
Oh, me too, bro. Love that. Yum.
But the people I tell, like the reason I'm telling them is for them to tell me if I'm overthinking. So I don't mind it because I think that when someone says that I'm overthinking, I usually stop overthinking or I try to. But why?
Which like makes me feel so much better because it's like I won't think about it anymore.
Yeah. I think the main reason though that people overthink is that one biggest thing nowadays, social media and the pressure to have the right answer decision before posting or acting. So basically I feel like with social media, people have this thing where they want to be right when they post. Like they have to be right because
I feel like when we post we want to be right too.
Because if you're not right with social media, like there's so many consequences about not being right.
Exactly. Like, it's like why are you
get like people be getting cyberbullied for saying like the wrong.
Yeah, it's
like we probably would get cyberbullying if some English teacher watched our videos. Like we're just constantly using the wrong tense.
We're using the wrong tense. We're like all over the place sometimes.
Yeah, so I think that people overthink about social media a lot because there are so many ways. There are so many ways that this could backfire on you, but at the same time, we just overthink it a lot. And I do think majority of the times it doesn't actually happen anyway. So I think that social media definitely plays a big part in overthinking, not just in like if you are a poster, but when you're somebody that receives content too, like there's so many like trends and stuff. Like I recently heard like yogurt body. It's like people that eat a bunch of yogurt, they have like a body type.
What?
Which I'm like, what even is that? Like I don't even know what that is. Or there's like,
what is a yogurt body?
Or the people that are like, oh like diet maxing, and you know what I mean? Like there's all these like random things that like you've never heard of, and I think because of that, people also tend to overthink. They get anxious because there's like, oh,
I'm not yogurt maxing.
They're like, what is this? Like I have to do this, like. And you just start overthinking, like, what if I don't do this? Like, am I cool enough, or am I not cool enough, or is like, I feel like overthinking happens a lot with social media because you're seeing.
I think working out, like people who work out
maxing.
Yeah, I want to work out max.
I'm one of them.
Don't worry, I'm going to my first class pass tomorrow, so I'll be one of them too.
She's a Pilates girl.
I literally go for a day and I quit. Well, I'll talk about something else that why people overthink as well. Like, do you think the parents and like family members and like that could also add to like?
I agree. Yeah, I think so. I think like I come from a family where I think my dad knows everything. Yeah. He's like Google search. Like I just ask him a question. It's like all our parents. I don't know what is with the dads. Like you ask them a question and something that's like. The most random question, and they know the answer, and they're like cite articles, like it's like from their brain. They're like citing like I read this and stuff. Especially when you come from a household like that. I feel like there's a lot of pressure to be
That
right.
reminds me, like, that's my dad as well, but it's also my cousin for some reason.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like we're kind of
she
like that
is
too, though,
Google.
sometimes.
Yeah. We start dropping facts.
Yeah, like, no, like, I'll ask our parents are not in healthcare, mind you.
Yeah.
But for some reason, my dad knows more healthcare information than I do.
Oh.
And, like, I'll ask him, like, a random question, and he'll
I
give
just
me...
don't believe my mom.
No, my dad will,
Like,
like...
is he saying the right fact?
Yeah, I start
Oh, wow.
showing they're right. And I'm just like, why do you know this?
My mom said that you could get cancer if you eat hot stuff. Which I did search it up, and a lot of, like, high food, like, high temperature foods can, like, injure and, like, destroy your esophageal tissue. So she's not wrong. She's not wrong.
But like, what she said is
but the
not
way, yes,
accurate.
which is another way, like, overthink happens. Whoa. Overthinking happens because I could have meant to say, oh my god, this is, like, perfect. Because it's like, I could have meant to say something to one of my friends. It's the way I said it didn't, like, come off as the right meaning. I didn't mean it like that, but it's like they might have taken it as a different intention as well. Yeah, that always happens, like miscommunication like that.
But I don't think that's
like, I could have meant to, like, bruh, like, oh my god, you're so, like, weird. Like, you're so weird. Like, you're so weird. Like, as a full joke, but it's like, because I don't know that person that well, they might have been like, she's so mean. Like, she literally said that. I think that happened a lot.
Yeah. But I don't think that's overthinking.
Okay. Now we're just talking about, like, relationship issues.
I meant more like, because, like, in a setting where the people you're talking to are, like, highly intellectual, or they're usually they're, like, very credible.
Imposter
you have a
syndrome.
lot of, like, I need to be right. Like, if I say something, if something comes out of my mouth, it needs to be correct.
Yeah.
So I think because of that, if, like, you constantly have this pressure that you need to be right or correct, you overthink everything you're gonna say or everything you're gonna do to the point where you're not really saying anything.
And, like, you're losing sense of your true self.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
you're
part of,
acting like some, like, superficial perfect person, but it's, like, not genuinely you.
Yeah. I mean, the next thing we're talking about is perfectionism. If you're someone that needs to be perfect, everything needs to be perfect, you're overthinking, and at the end of the day, you're technically wasting time by overthinking. And I'm sorry to break the news, but nobody's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, like, nobody is.
So, you know, the best thing you can do is just not overthink about it. Just be who you are. And obviously, we're gonna get into this more, but there is a difference between, like, normal thinking. Like, if I send you a text and I think, oh, she may be mad, that's not overthinking. But it's like, if you overthink, dwell on it, you can't sleep because you're overthinking, you can't eat because you're overthinking. Like, it's like, if you get yelled at by your parents, you think, like, oh my god, I did this, and, like, you can't eat, you're, like, not hungry anymore. Like, that's what I mean by overthinking. Not like, oh, do you think she's gonna get mad at me, and then you just leave it at that.
Sometimes I'll be like, oh my god, she's not replying to me. She, like, doesn't want to be my friend anymore.
And then we won't think about it ever again.
Yeah.
That's just normal. That's just thinking. Like, you're gonna have feelings when you're talking to somebody. Those are that's normal. But overthinking is more like when something happens and you dwell on it for longer than you actually need to dwell on it. Yeah. It's not just when you notice something and then you have a reaction.
And you also think, like, the complete worst of it.
Yeah.
Like, the worst outcome.
Exactly.
Like, no, if my friend doesn't reply to me, it doesn't mean that she doesn't want to be my friend. She just...
Exactly.
Could be busy. There's so many different factors.
Yeah, and sometimes overthinking can feel like control when other things feel uncertain, because, like Shivani said, sometimes you can use it as a coping mechanism, and your brain can naturally use overthinking to fill in the blanks of uncertainty. Yeah. Like, if you're stepping into a situation where you're maybe meeting somebody that's, like, a mutual, but you've never met them before, you're overthinking this scenario, you're playing every possible situation that could possibly come in your head. You're not able to sleep for, like, 2 days because you're thinking about everything that could go wrong or everything that could go right. That is also, like, overthinking. That's also, what do you call it? What did I say? What word did I use? It's like a
cycle.
It's a cycle, but it's a coping mechanism. That is how your brain is coping, because you're uncertain. You're stepping into something that's uncertain, and your brain doesn't like uncertainty, because uncertainty means sympathetic nervous system. It means fight or flight responses.
Oh, my favorite. We love parasympathetic. So the two different nervous systems we have are parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system, like Deeksha said, it's your fight or flight, and your parasympathetic parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest. And when you're freaking out and you're overthinking, your sympathetic nervous system is essentially being activated, and it's your fight or flight. And whenever you get anxious, and your body is just not resting.
Yep.
It's just always like.
Exactly.
That's why sometimes feeling overthinking, you just feel so tired, and sometimes like you just want to like.
And we're gonna get into that, like what is
the science
happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're just about to get into the science behind what actually is happening, what overthinking does to your brain. So, default mode network. We're gonna say DMN because it's just such a long thing, but DMN stands for default mode network. And you guys may have heard that here and there because I think people do use it on like other podcasts and TikToks. Like, I've heard the term before. But the default mode network is basically the brain's network. It's the brain network when that is active when we're not focused on an outside task. So it's responsible for all the mind wandering, the rumination, the daydreaming. Like, it's literally the way your brain functions when you're not actively using the brain for something external. Yeah. So why does this matter for overthinking? How does it relate to overthinking? So DMN is not necessarily a bad thing. So it's not only linked to overthinking. It's a natural thing. Everybody, even people that don't overthink, their default mode network still gets active at certain times. But it's when your brain cannot actually switch it off when it needs to, you start to ruminate on like sadness or anger causing thoughts, which causes overthinking. And of course, this can be regulated, which we're gonna talk about like hypothetical solutions, what you can do to improve overthinking. But that's kind of the whole reason that we tend to overthink, because essentially in your brain, the default mode network is not able to get shut down when it properly needs to, and it's overactive even when it doesn't need to be active. And that's when you start to ruminate and sit on thoughts that cause you, that's like the whole thing of overthinking. Also, side note, if you guys have never noticed, people tend to overthink on negative emotions. Like, you don't ever see people overthinking on like, that was the best day of my life. They're not overthinking on the best day of their life. Like,
but some people can overthink in the sense like, oh, it was the best day of my life, but it could have been better, could have done this, could have done that.
Yeah,
so it's taking like
but that's still a
thing.
negative emotion.
Yeah, it's taking a positive thing and making it negative.
Yeah. So I'm saying more like people tend to overthink on negative things like shame, guilt, things that cause you sadness, things that cause you to get mad. If you feel guilty about something, like those are the types of things that you overthink on, because you're always thinking about how could I have made the situation better. Like, people don't think about overthink on happy. If you were having the best day of your life and you genuinely thought that it could have not have been better in no other way, you're not overthinking that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way the default mode network works in your brain. It is active, but it doesn't need to be. And again, I'm going to reiterate this. The default mode network is not a bad thing. It's just like any other, even if you eat a carrot, you eat too many carrots every single day, it gets bad for you at a point. It's kind of like you need just enough. And the default mode network is functional in most people.
And she means with the carrot thing, she means like if you're only eating carrots.
If you're only eating carrots,
like
you're eating
that's
like
your only diet.
Like
an
you're unimaginable
if you're just eating carrots.
Like, then it's not it's not the best for you anymore, right? That's kind of what I mean. Like, too much of something is not that great anymore. You need the right amount. So default mode network, not a bad thing, because this is what causes you to daydream. This is what causes you to think about something that you need to think about. Like Shani said, the whole interview thing, you need to think about that. Like, you need to think about all the possible scenarios, because that's something that's not bad, you know? But it's when your brain cannot shut it down, that's when you overthink and you start to ruminate and sit on those negative thoughts for more than necessary.
Yeah. Well, that's a good leeway into the amygdala. And
yeah, got it.
If you watched one of our old episodes, I used to pronounce amygdala as amygdala for a really, really long time. But it's called the amygdala, and we're going to talk about uncertainty and how that deals with that part of your brain structure. But why does your brain treat uncertainty like a threat? But basically, if you watched our hormone video, we know that the entire hormones and all that process, it's a very tropic cascade essentially, and you're affecting one part of your brain, which is affecting another thing and affecting another thing, and essentially that's the hormone that gets released. You definitely watched our endocrine episode.
Yeah,
but
we're very in depth.
We go really in depth on that, but I'm just going to give you guys kind of like a brief overview. But Uncertainty essentially activates the amygdala, which then causes it to activate the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is responsible for releasing very specific hormones. So the hormones that then get released are the stress hormones. So that includes cortisol and adrenaline, which, like we mentioned earlier, the sympathetic nervous system, so the fight or flight, cortisol and adrenaline are very activated during those times as well, because that is what's essentially leading you to run or fight and give you like that rush of emotions.
Right.
But basically, the reason why your brain is treating like a worst case scenario and essentially like filling in the blanks is because your brain is wanting to be over prepared and expect any types of danger rather than being like underprepared and not really knowing what it's supposed to expect. So that's why your brain does this whole continuous cycle of what is the worst case scenario in every single aspect. I feel like when I have like usually overthink, or what is it? Overthought?
When you overthought something.
When I overthought something, I think of like literally the worst. Like, what's gonna happen if this person stops being my friend? Okay, what? I'm not gonna have. She's not gonna be in my life. Oh my god, this is gonna affect this person, this person, this person. Maybe this person won't want to talk to me because they're directly friends with this person. It just is preparing you for all types of scenarios, and it's just because your brain and your body, it wants to be aware of something rather than go into like essentially a battle of like unpreparedness and not being certain about anything. So
yeah. And like Shivani mentioned, with the release of cortisol and having a whole stress response, this is the perfect way to talk to you guys about what is happening in your brain when you are having high amounts of cortisol and a stress response in, I guess, relation to overthinking.
Yeah.
So these are the effects of chronic high cortisol in the brain, and all of our information, most of our information is from NIH, but all of our articles are going to be linked at the bottom of this description if you do want to read further in and learn more information, because there was a lot of information on that article that we didn't use. So definitely check it out if you're more interested in this. But in your hippocampus, which is kind of like your memory center, it shrinks the volume of your hippocampus over time, which is like by the elevated cortisol levels, and it's tied to worse memory performance, and cortisol has neurotoxic effects in this case. So it is physically shrinking like your memory database.
And adding to that, if you ever are studying for your MCAT or anything, you don't have a psych section on DAT, right?
No.
Okay,
But we have this in our...
Okay, in the biology section, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so with the MCAT, we have a psychology section, and in that psychology section, if you've ever done your Anki cards, there's something called reconstructive. Pretty sure it's called reconstructive memory, and it essentially is just talking about how like stress affects your memory, and you're not able to remember stuff that well when you're stressed.
Which is kind of ironic, because the whole thing we're talking about is overthinking.
Right?
So that's kind of interesting. Keep that in mind if you're a chronic overthinker. Then moving on to the amygdala, which is, like we mentioned, the emotional center. Chronic stress makes emotional regulation harder, and it amplifies fear responses, which kind of makes sense, because if you remember, Shivani and I talked about how when you overthink, you try to fill in those blanks of uncertainty, which is a coping mechanism to you feeling uncertain, and that is kind of a fear response, I would say. I'm not sure if I would consider that a fear response, but
I think it's just...
that's what's happening with your amygdala. It's amplifying fear responses. And then early life stress, like can be anything, PTSD, trauma, any kind of thing that's causing you to have stress early in your life is linked to amygdala hyperactivity and increased volume with earlier onset like effects with the amygdala. Basically, okay, I think we talk a lot about the amygdala, but what I want to emphasize is like, don't quote me on this because I don't know if I'm going to be using the exact right words, but to make the best decisions, you don't want to use your emotional center. You want to use your prefrontal cortex because it does all of your higher order thinking, right? So whenever possible, in like the perfect absolute gold standard is to use your prefrontal cortex when making any decision.
That's why your brain feels one way and your heart feels one way.
Yeah. But if your amygdala is bigger and it's hyperactive, you're now basically making more decisions off of your emotional reasoning instead of your intellectual reasoning. Does that make sense? Like, again, don't clip me and make me sound incorrect, but like, I hope you're getting what I'm saying. Like, it's not that you don't use your amygdala, because we would not have an amygdala if we're not supposed to use it. But like, you should make, if your decisions are made from your prefrontal cortex, they are more likely more logical and reasonable. With your amygdala, you just can make decisions that may not be the best decision because you're doing it out of emotion.
And also, if you watched our like how substance abuse affects us, like we talk a lot about the prefrontal cortex because there's different substances can go and affect that because your prefrontal cortex essentially is not mature until the age of 25.
Yep. So ours isn't either.
Yeah.
But going on, now talking about the prefrontal cortex, chronic high cortisol levels cause dendritic retraction and reduced spine numbers, impairs cognitive flexibility, increases amygdala control over the prefrontal cortex, basically meaning that it's habit-driven, less deliberate decision making, and elevated cortisol level has also been linked to making riskier decisions. That makes sense because now you are using your prefrontal cortex less, and your hippocampus volume is getting lower, and you're using your amygdala to make most of your decisions. So you're now making more risky decisions because you're not actually thinking about it as logically anymore.
Yeah.
And the cortisol can suppress brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is a protein that is essential for neuron growth and lower brain
Are you okay?
I'm just speaking so fast. Lower brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is that protein, lower amounts of that is linked to depression. So, kind of makes sense, going back to our original point about overthinking, kind of makes sense that if overthinking is, again, we're talking about chronic overthinking, not like if you overthink one day, but chronic overthinking it makes sense that like people get depressed and get anxious because this is happening in your brain, and then there are literal chemicals and proteins that are like going crazy while you're thinking about these things, which is then causing you to become sad, literally. And it's not just, oh, she's just sad about some stupid thing, because no, you're thinking about it so much that your brain chemistry has not changed.
It's so deep. And literally adding on to that, like what Diksha mentioned with the prefrontal cortex and amygdala, there's something called the amygdala hijack apparently, and that basically means that your amygdala, again, is overriding your prefrontal cortex and essentially being responsible for making those reasonings and plannings and decisions. So that's why sometimes it can feel like you're making very emotional decisions rather than logical, and that's how, like, again, like the chronic stress levels, it can directly affect the prefrontal cortex as well. And I can talk more about that. Like Disha mentioned, prefrontal cortex is very responsible for the working memory, planning, overriding, all the decision makings. And that's why we said a lot of substances can affect that prefrontal cortex. And essentially, like if you do a lot more substances when you're younger, before it's mature, it gets worse, and your decision making skills are like, I guess, worsen. Is worsen a word?
I think so.
Worsen over the years, okay? Anyway, back to what I was saying about the logical decisions. But
mind you, English is our first language.
Yeah. I can't speak. But again, that brain region is the most sensitive to stress. And even if it's like a mild, uncontrollable stress, it can rapidly impair its function of the prefrontal cortex, and it can actually, like prolonged stress can actually end up physically changing its structure. So the prefrontal cortex, again, it's very important, and the more you stress and the more long term it is, the worse it's going to affect its system. So that's not good. We don't want that. But overthinking is part of a stress response, and it's not just a thinking problem, essentially. But
yeah, and continuing on with what Shivani was saying, an NIH article, again, it is linked at the bottom of our description, but an NIH article states that the hippocampus's job is actually to shut off the HPA axis, like Shivani mentioned, once the stressor passes. But overthinking often means that you're replaying something, which means you're mentally re-triggering the stress response over and over again, even though the actual event is done.
Yeah.
So this can keep the cortisol levels elevated the same way as if it was a real-world ongoing stress problem. And over time, then impairs the structure of the hippocampus that's actually supposed to turn this alarm off, and becomes a bit of a feedback loop. And again, overthinking keeps cortisol levels high and elevated cortisol makes it harder for the brain to regulate itself back down. Basically, very, very simple terms. Your hippocampus is supposed to, people get stressed. It's not really possible to live without stress because everything, the smallest thing can make you get like an increase in cortisol levels, but it's your brain's job to bring it back down. Like that's how the body functions. But when you overthink, you're basically not letting your hippocampus take care of this stress response and bring it back down. So you're just constantly at this like stressed state.
Yeah.
And when you do that, it's like if you press the on button, but it's like not turning on, so you just keep pressing it, one day the on button is just gonna break. And then you can't turn it on even if you need to, right? So it's the same thing, like if the hippocampus constantly can't do its job, one day its job is gonna become faulty and you can't turn it off, so it's gonna be worse and worse and worse. It's gonna impair the hippocampus from turning that off, and then keeps those cortisol levels up. And then we just talked about a bunch of things that can happen if your cortisol levels are constantly high.
Yeah. And adding on to that, we're going to talk about neuroplasticity and like the habit loops. If you watched our dopamine episode, we go a lot more again in depth, but everything is all connected. And
we actually did talk about neuroplasticity in our last episode, finding your purpose
in your 20s. Yeah. So yeah, but how does that repeated thought patterns get reinforced? Like, why is your brain essentially like allowing your body to continue overthinking when you know overthinking is like causing you like unnecessary stress, and that all leads back to dopamine? But when you finally get that answer, or you resolve your like uncertainty feeling, like your brain gets a small dopamine from that. And I don't know if you've ever felt this, but when I stop overthinking, or like I'll figure out the solution to it, and I just literally feel a wave of relief.
Yeah.
Have you ever like felt that?
Yes.
So it's like that's your hit of dopamine, and it's like your body feels so good after that. You feel like on top of the world, and like everything is like nothing can stop you. But that's basically reinforcing a pattern, and that's why your brain is essentially defaulting to, I guess, overthinking and doing all that. And because essentially your overthinking will eventually lead to relief, and it's making you want to keep doing it over and over and over again. And I'm not gonna lie, that wave of relief of dopamine, it feels great. Like I feel so happy when I'm like, okay, now I can stop thinking. I feel so relieved. I feel like I can breathe, and it's like your brain's just doing it over and over again. It's not good.
I wonder actually if that's we should make a whole episode on toxic relationships, but I wonder if that's what
it is. Because when you essentially
brain.
Stop fighting with your significant other, and you guys are really good, and when it's really good, it's really good. So you're on the high, like highest of the high, and then when it gets bad, but you're so used to this kick of dopamine.
Exactly, because the line that I hear from everyone in a toxic relationship, when it's good, it's really good.
When it's good, it's really good, because your body is also feeling it's really good.
Exactly.
Like you're on top of the world, and it's like when that person is away in your life, you're feeling super sad, depressed, but when they come back and you feel like you conquered and you got them back.
Like when you guys are fighting too, like you're like, at the end of the day, the good is still good.
Yeah.
So I wonder, we should do a whole deep dive on that.
I'm down. But yeah, how does resolving uncertainty even like briefly give you that small dopamine hit that reinforces the loop? And I already mentioned it, but like once again, if you fix it, your stress, I guess essentially your stress is lower, you're calmer, you're happier, you feel that wave of relief, and then your brain is essentially just being rewired, and it's just continuously causing you to overthink.
And then that's the whole
I like this relationship thing.
Neuroplasticity, it's strengthening and weakening some connections, which then makes overthinking a habit.
Yeah.
Now it's something that's happening unintentionally too. But this is something that I personally am very interested in. That's why I kind of added it here. But I think that the gut-brain axis is really cool. So back to what I was saying about the whole gut-brain axis. So the main question is, how does chronic overthinking show up physically in your digestion, muscle tension, and sleep disruption? So according to the Mayo Clinic, the stress response starts in the hypothalamus, which triggers the adrenal glands to release adrenaline and cortisol in response to a perceived threat, which we already talked about.
Like trauma.
And adrenaline speeds up your heart rate, raises your blood pressure, and boosts your energy. Cortisol raises your blood glucose and helps your body access, repair resources, while also suppressing non-essential systems like digestion, immune response, and reproduction during the stress response. So, again, adrenaline and cortisol together are increasing your necessary parts of your body, necessary like functions, and are decreasing your non-essential ones, which are all the stuff that happens in your parasympathetic, digestion, immune, reproduction. Normally, this system is self-limiting, so the hormones return to the baseline once the threat passes, but when the stress is constant and you're constantly having high cortisol levels, high adrenaline, you're in that fight or flight response all the time. And long-term activation of the stress response increases the risk of anxiety, depression, digestive disorders, headaches, muscle tension, and pain, heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, sleep problems, waking, and memory and focus problems. So,
wow, just a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah, so individual stress reactivity varies, of course, based on genetic and everyone's different life experiences, but people with histories of trauma, neglect, or abuse tend to have stronger stress responses. So, as we can see, stress does have a lot of
which also
repercussions.
Makes sense because when like your sympathetic nervous system, like it when it's activated, it also affects so many parts of your body. It's not just your like how you're feeling. It's like everything's affected.
It's literally all of your non-essential parts of your body get shut down or paused.
Yeah.
When you're in the sympathetic, but then your digestive health is actually considered non-essential. So when you're constantly in a fight or flight response, you're probably going to eventually gain some type of gut issue along with it because your digestive system is just not working like it's supposed to because you're just constantly stressed. You're never allowing it to digest, basically. Yeah. And according to psychiatrist, I might mess her name up, but Dr. Marina Rosengreen, stress and sleep have a very complicated relationship. People can feel tired, but too keyed up or like they're thinking too much and using their brain too much to actually be able to rest, which creates a whole cycle where poor sleep worsens stress and then stress worsens sleep. So it's just this continuous cycle. And then the gut and brain are closely connected as well. So stress often shows up as nausea, bloating, stomach pain, diarrhea, constipation, or appetite changes. I don't know about you, but when I'm stressed, I don't get hungry and I don't get sleepy.
Yeah, I don't get hungry or sleepy. I can't.
I cannot sleep and I cannot eat. Like if you put food in front of me, I will get nauseous.
I literally need to run. Like I can't sit still. Like I have to get out.
Yeah.
I have
to do like some like physical activity. Yeah. That's why I go on walks. Helps a lot. You guys should try it. Chronic stress can also worsen underlying GI conditions like IBS, IBD, and acid reflux. Stress also lowers your ability to cope with everyday frustration, showing up as it can cause you to have stronger reactions than you normally would because you're already in the state of stress. And stress can also make your brain feel foggy, affecting concentration, memory, and mental clarity because your brain is already busy managing stress instead of everything else. And on top of that, you're probably not sleeping well because you're stressed. So you're not able to use the sleep functions to its max ability. So then you're kind of not sleeping to fix the problem, which is causing the stress, but then the stress is also causing you to not sleep.
Well, that's a good wrap-up point.
Yeah.
She just talked about
it. So at the end of the day, just stop being stressed.
just stop. It's that easy.
It's really that easy.
And we get it's hard. Obviously, we get stressed.
I don't think it's as simple as try to stop being stressed. Like I don't think that's possible in today's world. I think what we can only do is
offer
manage
methods.
That stress. Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going to talk about some management stuff as we talk about a couple of things we learned. Again, the first thing that me and Diksha also mentioned in the beginning of the episode was naming this thought out loud and either writing about it or talking it out with your friends. There is something called effect labeling, and it has shown to reduce the amygdala activity, which is great because amygdala is related to your emotions and all that. But
I think one thing I'll say related to that is I actually saw Bella Dane's podcast about this. It's a really good way of explaining it. When you're naming a thought that's causing you to overthink and you're telling it to somebody or you're writing it down, you need to write it down or say it in a way that you want a solution to the problem. You don't want to just rant about it because then you're still overthinking. You're still talking about it. You're still overthinking about it. If I come to Shivani about a problem that I'm overthinking about, I need to come to her with what is the solution. That should be the goal of that conversation. If you're just telling her, then you're still overthinking.
Exactly. Another thing, grounding techniques or movement to interrupt the loop, which we mentioned, like fitness, to going on walks, going to the Pilates class. I'm literally starting my journey tomorrow, but
Cooking, go cook something.
hobbies, anything. And journaling to close that loop or any unresolved thoughts, which we mentioned. And again, the mindfulness and its effect on the DMN and how you can help regulate the default mode network. And it's not bad or anything, but it's like the world is spending too much time with their default mode network or going back, and there's so many negative effects, so such as overthinking and ruminating. So again, journaling, grounding, working out, these are just methods to help you cope. Talking to people help a lot. But yeah, again, like, what is your biggest takeaway about today's conversation? Do you have anything?
I think my main thing is that with everything we talk about, including this, there is a solution. It's just, I think, mental problems or mental things like this, they take a second for your solutions to actually work, but I promise they work. I think I used to be a chronic overthinker. I have been journaling, I walk, I do things to take my mind off of it, I've tapped into my hobbies, and I don't think I'm as much of an overthinker as I used to be like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So coming from someone that is an overthinker or was an overthinker, you can definitely stop overthinking.
Yeah.
It just takes some time. And I think Shivani's gotten better, so much better at it.
I feel like I have too. I think junior year was a very changing year. I just was like,
junior year, we
it was
just
a very
became
changing
spiritual.
year. We're very spiritual. We're very zen now. But it's
Yeah.
like, for me, when I overthink, I literally have to just call up one of my friends and say, am I overthinking about this? Am I being stupid? What am I thinking? And then either they're going to reaffirm and be like, you're not overthinking, you're just thinking. Or they're going to be like, yeah, you're doing too much, calm down. And as long as someone can tell me I'm being stupid, I'm okay.
And I want to say this one more time, that overthinking is not inherently bad. It's not just bad if you overthink somebody like did something to you that's causing you to overthink. It's someone that you really, really care about did something and you overthink. That's one thing, but overthinking about every single thing causing you to be a chronic overthinker is a different thing. Yeah. People overthink. I overthink all the time. Overthinking is normal. Underthinking is normal. Normal thinking is normal. Everything is normal until it happens too much. So just be mindful when you're overthinking and try to notice it and do something about it.
Like she said, overthinking isn't a character flaw. It's just your brain doing its job too well. But yeah.
Well, that's the perfect little sentence to wrap it up.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this episode.
And stay tuned next week for our next one. Bye, guys.